striking up good conversation. I know you guys are having some good time networking, which is the purpose of these programs. Okay, I'm Paige Walters. I'm our Director of Advocacy and Economic Development here at the Springfield Chamber. Really excited to welcome you guys today to our Small Business Solutions Hub program. These are programs that we stretch. It's a whole initiative that we started a couple years ago. There's a digital platform and these quarterly education programs as a way to really make a space for our members, our 786 members, to tap into the resources that exist within the membership. So this is a place for our small business community and our small business community resource providers to get to know each other and to get some really great educational programming that goes along with some really good lunch. So welcome all today. I want to thank first and foremost all of those sponsors on our digital hub. Ask Eric Computer Services, Belfour Property Restoration, Chambers Construction, Eugene Area Radio Stations, Hirschner Hunter Attorneys, Oregon Community Credit Union, OCCU, WaFd Bank, and our presenting sponsor, Kaiser Permanente. Kaiser, yeah, round of applause. Thank you, guys. Kaiser Permanente couldn't be here, but they did ask that I read this on their behalf. They're really excited about today's program and happy to support the initiative as a whole. Kaiser's honored to be part of today's program and support the Chamber in its efforts to help build a more inclusive and equitable community for our neighbors and businesses. We want to thank the many businesses that engage in this work, who sponsor the Small Business Solutions Hub. When our businesses succeed, our community thrives. Thank you to the Springfield Chamber of Commerce for providing these opportunities, and we hope you find value in today's program. And they donated the lovely notebooks they have on your table for you. So today's program sponsor is the Illumination Project from the Springfield History Museum. And Emily David is here to share what that is and why it's important and how that ties into today's program.
Good afternoon. I'm Emily David, as Paige said, and I am the director of the Springfield Public Library and History Museum, where minds grow. And we are thrilled to be here today as the sponsor of the food and the speakers for the Springfield Chamber of Commerce Small Business Hub March event. And that is also honoring our current Illumination exhibit. And so Illumination is an annual story collection program that centers the experience of people living in Springfield and rural East Lane County who are underrepresented in our museum collections and exhibits. And this land we call Springfield is home to over 60,000 people. We all have our own unique individual personal stories and ancestral stories that contribute to our collective history as well as to our rich multicultural present. And so the Illumination offers both mirrors and windows for our community. Mirrors for those who see themselves reflected in the faces and experiences of the exhibit, and windows for others who we invite to explore with curiosity and compassion. So our intention is for future generations to have a history museum that equitably represents the people of Springfield today. So that's the main goal of Illumination. So our current exhibit centers on the Black and African American experience in Springfield and rural East Lane County. And our museum curator, Maddie McGraw, and the community engagement specialist, Mindy Linder, worked very closely this last year with stakeholders from that community to identify exhibit-related programming. And one of the themes that rose to the top was the need to identify opportunities to elevate Black and African American community and business leaders. And so that is how this partnership with the Springfield Chamber was developed in direct response to those conversations. So I encourage you all to go and visit the exhibit. It's, if you don't know where we are, we're just down the street on 6th and Main, and the Illumination exhibit is actually in the windows of the museum, so you can see it now. And we also have a presence online, and there's some flyers at your tables. They're all the same, they just have different photos, but it'll lead you to the online virtual exhibit as well. And that features our story collection team for this year. They did a wonderful job. It was Michael K. Clint, Marcus Holloway, or M5 Vibe, and Irene Rashid. And they interviewed and photographed 8 local people, all the way from a firefighter to a hospice nurse. There's an international singer and songwriter, an award-winning actress, a TV and film actress who was actually just named to the Forbes 30 Under 30 for 2024. And there's a high school student and some others. It's a really great exhibit. And so the museum's currently closed for collection care, but the exhibit's in the outside, or you can see it online. So I hope you'll take advantage of that. And lastly, I just want to say thank you to Marianne Riley, who's not here. She had to go to something else, and Paige Walters for helping bring this program together in this partnership with the Chamber. Thank you to Chef Mia Bowman and her helper Mary for the delicious vegan soul food. And I look forward to this program that we're going to hear from Mr. Morgan and Ms. Bowman about small business growth strategies and excellence in leadership. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Emily. Our museum does some pretty incredible exhibits. So I encourage you guys to wander down there and window shop the exhibit until they're back open. Thank you for supporting the program today and helping us put that together. So as Emily said, today we're really excited to welcome 2 local entrepreneurs who have a really incredible background in business, and they're here today to talk about that journey and their leadership expertise that they really bring to each of their fields. So first, I'm excited to introduce Eugene native and naturalist, J.R. Morgan. J.R. is the visionary founder and owner of Morganic Roots. From humble beginnings, working alongside his father in a landscape business, J.R. has embarked on a remarkable journey towards promoting organic and sustainable practices in his work. Armed with a business degree from the University of Puerto Rico, his commitment to ethical decision-making, compassionate heart, and innate talent for gardening, he established Morganic Roots. Along the way, he deepened his expertise by obtaining certificates in horticulture, permaculture design, and advanced permaculture design, with a keen focus on climate resilience from Oregon State University. Today, he stands as a shining example of dedication to environmental stewardship and innovative business practices within our local community. JR, welcome.
All right, thank you guys for inviting me. I really appreciate that. I first want to go a little bit deeper into my business experience and who I am and how I've gotten to where I am. Growing up, my parents are divorced, and my father is a business owner, and he's owned businesses here for the last 25 years in Eugene. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of Blessings Hair Salon.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. So that's been in business for 25 years. That's my parents own that. And they also have 2 daycares. So before that, in Portland is where they lived before that. And he had businesses in Portland, mini malls, convenience stores, sold pagers. And so growing up, I have, as early as I can remember, being in the back of a store, being at a store, he's been in situations where we've had to sleep in the back of the store. So it's been my life has been connected to business on that level. And growing up, I started selling also because my father, engraved that in me to be able to sell products. So I was selling T-shirts, stickers, magnets. I've sold water, just anything that you could think of, I was selling as a kid. And when I was about 13, I started doing festivals with T-shirts and stickers, and at that point, from 13 to about 25, I was out there, you know, setting up by myself, you know, 15, 16 at the Saturday market in Portland. I would be doing festivals, and through those times, I learned a lot, not necessarily in like an educational background, but just experience of being in that scenario where, you know, you have to I would make the stickers and T-shirts myself. So I got a close interaction of what is profit. And, you know, if a sticker costs you $0.25 and you sell it for $2, you know, you're getting $1.75 if you multiply that, you know. So like on a good day at the Saturday market in Portland at like 17 years old, I'd make, you know, $300. And that was great, right? And during all this time, I played basketball also. So when I wasn't in the season, I would be hustling and selling products. And so I ended up getting a scholarship to play basketball at the University of Puerto Rico. And again, on my off time, because at that point I got the educational scholarship, but it wasn't for living expenses. So I needed to find a way to make money. But my father had engraved in me on making money and you know, small business hustle mentality, right? So I started doing what I know, and I started selling stickers and T-shirts in Puerto Rico. I lived in Puerto Rico for 8 years, and that whole time I would be doing festivals. I also got in connection with the college where I was providing all of my shirts, all of my stickers. I was doing bracelets at the bookstore, and they would also allow me to sell at the cafeteria. And during this time of just selling and, you know, interacting with people, I learned a lot of, you know, interacting with people, how to sell a product, how like presentation, you know, setting up my table, setting up my posters, angles, and all of these things. And then I ended up graduating from business marketing. So I had like a hands-on experience of in the streets. And then I added, you know, educational background with the books. And so I feel like it really helped me now where I'm at, to kind of have both of those always engraved in me. And so that's a little bit of how I've gotten to where I am now. I moved back from Puerto Rico in 2017, or let me rewind a little bit. So as I was selling stickers and T-shirts, I started getting carpal tunnel in both my wrists. And I'm 26, 27. And I was just like, man, this is not what I want to do. And also I was selling so many stickers and T-shirts that everyone started calling me the sticker guy. And I'm like, okay, you know, is this really who I want to be? Sticker guy. And it was great, you know, but my hands were hurting, and I'm not sure if anyone's heard of the Kemetic scripture. It's from Egypt. It's like the drawings on the wall. They're able to communicate. It's not like a religion. It's more of a spiritual path. So I started reading books and learning about like the food that I eat. And I started, you know, I went straight vegan. You know, stopped eating fast food, stopped eating all this stuff. I went vegan out there in Puerto Rico, and I was trying to change my lifestyle. And that's when as I started going vegan, I started learning like about growing food and the circle of life of like, okay, if I'm eating only vegetables and fruits, it makes sense for me to be working in the garden and growing these foods, right? And so at that point, I started searching on how can I make money doing something that is more meaningful and makes me feel better inside, and something that like if I did have kids, I can say like, hey, you know, this is what your dad does. And I know that everyone thinks differently, like every individual here. But at that point, I was thinking, what you do is who you are, right? I was making stickers, so everyone called me the sticker guy. And I was like, I want to be connected to growing fruits and vegetables and healing. And I became completely broke, you know? And so I was out there selling stickers. And when I was doing the stickers and T-shirts, I was making plus I was studying $2,000 to $3,000, $4,000 a month, and that was good. In Puerto Rico, I was able to pay my rent, you know. And so from that point, then I went in to try to do a holistic business. I started, you know, I tried to sell fruit at a market, didn't work. I made like 20 bucks in a day. I started doing sprouts, so I had my whole house full of sprouts. And I was trying to sell, you know, micro sprouts, and didn't work. At that point, I was like, okay, I need to come back home. I'm from Eugene, came back home, my family's here, and I started a holistic health center called Kundalini Center. And I was teaching nutrition, meditation, gardening, and I was going to the local BSUs, and I was teaching people about those topics. And it felt really good. I also was connected with the NAACP. I was living at the MIMS house during this time, and I was getting a lot of positive feedback from the community, but the money wasn't coming in. And then I had a baby. So my first daughter, Oasis, was born, and that's when I really had to change my lifestyle. And I was like, okay, I need to start figuring out what I'm going to do to provide for my family. And now I have 3 kids. And that was 2017. She was born in 2018. And at that point, I went into ornamental gardening for perennial patterns. And I started learning that, you know, there was a lot of money in landscaping. You know, at that point, I was getting paid $15 an hour. And coming from Puerto Rico, I was like, wow, this is actually not bad, right? So I stayed with that company for 3 years, and I still had all of the stuff in the back of my mind of the things that I wanted to do and the things that I wanted to provide. And a lot of it had to do with edible gardens and healing and all those positive things. And so I guess where I'm trying to go towards is letting you guys know that if you guys are starting a business, you know, it takes time. It's not like you just become famous or you just become successful, you know, right then. You know, it took a lot of trial and error. You know, at that point, that's 5 years of me searching for what I want to do and who I want to become. And so after 3 years of working with them, I started Morganic Roots. And like I said, I was working for $15 an hour for this guy, and started, you know, $20 an hour. And now, you know, 2024, I'm charging $70 to $80 an hour for my services. At that point, I was making, I think the first year I made like $20,000. And now Morganic Roots is close to $250,000 in gross. I'm bringing home close to $100,000 to provide for my kids and my family.
Great.
And the positive thing is there's room for growth. And this year is actually, I'm going to be making more money than that if everything goes in the direction. And that's what I'm going to be talking to you guys about, with the strategies of how I got to this point from nothing pretty much. And so before I get into talking about specific strategies and all of these things, I did want to kind of hear what type of businesses, maybe 3-4 people, of what people are doing out there. Also, maybe I can get a hands of if anyone is starting a business. Starting a business, anyone in business for a year, 2 years? 5 years? Okay, cool. So are there business owners here, or are people just hanging out? Okay, so
We came for the food.
okay, so can I hear some of those businesses?
So I just purchased a website called Springfield Spotlights. And my goal is it's a business directory online, but more so I want to be able to get out there and share the story of the local businesses and really find out what's behind their business. And then while I'm doing that, I can help them find resources to be able to fund their business through some specialized tax incentives and expense reductions. So, and if we don't find them money, they don't pay me.
Okay, sounds good.
And I'm a brand new member of the chamber today.
Awesome.
I have a scrub store called Hulu Scrubs in Springfield. And I've had it for the last 16 and a half years.
Oh, wow. Great.
not necessarily a business, but a cultural nonprofit, started in 2020, end of 2020.
Okay.
We do cultural events, workshops, exhibits, participating in parades, or highlighting cultural activities.
Awesome.
And I want to rope everybody.
Yeah. No.
Literally.
Yeah.
I do rope folks.
Cool. My wife is from Zimbabwe. She's a musician, and I'll have to give you my card information.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So the thing about business is there's products and services, right? That's kind of the breakdown, right? You have service, even nonprofits and profits have a lot more in common than you think, right? You have products, right? But you might also offer a service.
A little bit, yeah, in terms of like fittings and taking
Yeah.
care of their employees and stuff.
So it's smart to be able to have different flows of income. Like with my landscaping business, I have a service where, I'm out there doing the work, doing design work, putting in these installations, but I also sell plants. And so when you're creating your business, it's important to think about what is it that you offer, right? And then when you're offering whatever it is, there's a price. So product, service, price are pretty similar in all businesses, right? And when you're thinking about price, it's important to, a lot of people when they're starting their business, they undersell themselves. And not necessarily, like, it's not always underselling yourself. For instance, I started at $15 and now I'm, between 60 and 80. And for me, my wife would always tell me, slow progress, right? I went from 15 to 20, 20 to 25, 25 to 30. And just recently I switched to an S Corp and I got a 5-year contract with the city of Eugene, which made me have to jump up quite a bit with my price because of the overhead of, the taxes and the insurance, all those things. And small businesses, that's one thing that a lot of people don't think about. Even me, when I was in, selling stickers and t-shirts and doing all these things, I wasn't necessarily thinking about overhead and time. And that is part of that profit that you're making. An example is, let's say you're buying, you buy an apple for 50 cents and you sell it for $2. You have $1.50 of profit, but that $1.50 isn't all profit. You have to put in the overhead of how much each apple cost you, right? So back to my business, if I'm charging $70 for my workers, right? And I try to pay my workers good, I'm paying them $30 an hour. And so that leaves me with $40 for myself. But then that $40 goes into the overhead of like workers' compensation. You have to think about taxes, insurance, gas, whatever it takes your business to run to be successful is the overhead that a lot of people don't really think about. And you have to put that into the price that you're charging, or else you're going to be in a negative. And that's why a lot of businesses don't end up making it in the long run. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard after about 2 years, most businesses don't make it. And I think that that's one of the biggest errors in starting a business, is not thinking about the overhead, and also underselling yourself. And also, it's not necessarily directly connected to overhead, but I feel like time is another thing that you have to think about. What is worth your time? And it's hard to say, okay, I'm worth $50 an hour, because obviously we're worth way more than that, right? But you kind of do have to break yourself down into business. It's like, if I'm going to work all day, how much do I want to make, right? If I'm going to be sitting at a storefront, does anyone have any storefronts? Yeah. And so I grew up in a storefront, and I saw my parents, pretty much married to their store. And some days no one will come. and they're just sitting there, you know? And so my dad always would tell me to just try to stay active. Like, okay, if no one's coming, you know, what can you do to be productive during that time? You don't want to just lose time sitting, staring out the window, waiting for someone to come. Like, there's other things that you could potentially do with that time. Are there any questions? I'm going to kind of just knock these little strategies out that I wanted to share with you guys.
Will we have time to come back later, Paige?
Okay, cool.
Yeah, a couple minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, starting price, I wanted to kind of talk about that. You always want to think about your competition too, right? And for instance, I can just talk about my situation, landscaping. You have the, average guy who has a lawnmower, he'll go and do something for $15 an hour, but he has no overhead. I have a business which has overhead, so I can't be competing with someone that's going to be charging $15 to $20 an hour. So you have to kind of figure out, like, the pricing will kind of put you into whatever realm you're, like, competition realm of, like, okay, if I'm selling, scrubs, or if I'm selling, fruits, like, okay, what are other people selling? Am I selling organic fruit, which is going to be a higher cost? Am I selling it for lower? So the price is really important. And also when you think about price, it's important to think, some people think that expensive things are just naturally better, right? It's like, if you go to the store, if you go to the mall, everything is high priced because they have a lot of overhead, but also they're kind of on the sell of like, oh man, this jacket costs $200. It has to be good. That's what the consumer is thinking. And so when you have a business, you got to think of what the consumer is thinking, but you have to also have the quality to match the product or the service. Because yeah, you could have a high product or service, but then have a low quality product. And in the beginning, you might be able to be successful, but as time goes on, your business is going to fail because the quality isn't matching the price. So as we're on the topic of price, I personally recommend to grow slowly as your quality grows. If you have a great quality product right off the top, then you can grow high, but you got to be real with yourself of what's the quality of the service that you're providing. Is it a necessity? Or is it not? If it's not, is it, you just have to break down what you're providing. And because price is extremely important. For me at this point, I am trying to go higher, because I'm looking at like Rexius and all of these other landscape companies that are charging $65, $70 an hour. And I'm in a situation where I have all of the same credentials as a Rexius, but not necessarily the amount of money. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not making millions like a Rexius, but I have the potential now to get to that level. So I have to think about the overhead, the price, and all of those things that are important. So next, I'm going to go into financial planning, and this is really important. I've kind of just done what works for me, and what I've done is I set goals for myself, and you have to be connected to your numbers. You could look at like a yearly goal. A lot of people get confused on trying to create a goal that's too big. My brother, who is extremely successful, he's like 25, already has his retirement, already in his retirement, doing just amazing things at such an early age. And he said, to get to a goal, it's not about, because say you have like a 5-year goal, you can get lost in that 5-year goal. So what he was saying is you break it down as small as you can into like a 1-day goal or a week goal, right? So if I have a 1-day goal and I do good enough for 5 days in a row, now I've accomplished that week goal. And if I have 3 good weeks in a row, 4 good weeks, now I have the month goal. So it's like, it's good to have long-term goals, but it's also good to break it down into sections of like, okay, I want to make $1,000 today, right? Or my goal is to make $5,000 by the end of the week, because if you're just like, oh, I want to make $200,000 by the end of the year, it's fine to have that goal, but it's important to be realistic and breaking it down of how you're going to actually get to that point. You guys follow me? And so people that have a business with a year, right, you're not going to be able to see much patterns of how much you're making. But if you're in a business for 3 to 5 years, at that point, now you should have an accountant you're able to look at your portfolio to see how much you've made in a year, right? So if you have 5 years of your income and your expenses, as a business owner, it's important for you to look back at that 5 years and look at the patterns of that 5 years. And why it's important to do that is because you'll be able to see trends, right? And you'll be able to see highs, you'll be able to see lows. For landscaping, I know that December, January, and some of February are extremely slow for me. Like my dad said, oh, that's when he gets the most money. But for me, I don't want to be like in the snow doing stuff. And so for me, I know that the spring and the fall is really a big year, like the big times for a landscaping business. The summertime, it actually goes down too. So if you're like at the mall, right? I'm pretty sure Christmas time is the peak season, or I'm pretty sure in each industry there's different times, and it's up to you guys to know what time of the year is a high or a low. So then you can strategize and market during those times. For instance, if I know that spring is a very high amount of income, I want to capitalize during that time. So then at that point, so if in the December comes and I'm only making $1,000, okay, in April I made $30,000, right? So then that balances out to where I don't even have to work in December or January. So it's important to, as a small business, to take that leap and stay connected to your finances, and setting those goals. I'm really good at being able to set a goal and hit it. And it's important for you to also look at the patterns, not necessarily in a long term of like months, but then like a week, right? How much money is your business making in a week? If you're selling products and you didn't make any money in a week, you got to be real with yourself. Is this just a slow time, or are you not making money during the high point of the season? And if you're not making money in the high point of the season, then you have to kind of re-juggle your situation, because now you're missing out on that opportunity. So then when the low time comes, now you're going to be putting yourself in a bigger predicament. And so next I'm going to go into marketing strategies. And so once you're able to see the patterns of your business, you'll see the highs and the lows, then you can create these marketing strategies. For specifically, I try to do the highs, right? If I know that this is the time where I'm going to be making majority of my money, I'm going to try to strategize and
You got about 2 minutes.
all right. I'm going to try to strategize and make as much money as I can. Website, network, cards, customer satisfaction is word of mouth is the best marketing, right? So if you can have people talk about you and say positive things, that's one of the best ways of marketing. And then the mindset is, you don't want your business to take control of you. I kind of look at it like walking a dog. I guess this would be my ending. So walking a dog, right? I don't have a dog, but I see people walk dogs and it makes sense. So if I'm walking a dog and the business is the dog, right? I don't want the dog to be like, pulling me. So at that point, your goals are too high. It's taking advantage of your life because your business is pulling you so far, right? But let's say the dog, you're on a walk and the dog is sitting there and you're trying to go for a walk. That's where a lot of people are. Their business isn't going anywhere, right? So you want to be able to flow with the dog, with your business, set realistic goals that are achievable, and hitting those goals, and then being real with yourself when you're not hitting those goals, and then creating marketing strategies to improve yourself, because failure is a learning opportunity, right? So, and also, don't be scared to start a new business.
Okay.
Cool. I could have gone for a while there.
Hopefully you can stick around for a couple minutes after too, if folks have
Yeah.
questions. So I think we can learn a lot from how you got here. You might have started as a hustler, but you really sounds like have settled into that strategic focus and planning, and it's done a lot for growing your business, and that is, yeah, it's super, super important. Next, I'm really excited to introduce Mia Bowman. Mia provided the food today, which was delicious. Mia's, yes, round of applause. That was really good. Mia's a distinguished figure in the healthcare leadership and culinary innovation. She's got an impressive 29-year tenure in the healthcare field. She's excelled both as a dedicated team member and a visionary leader. As a passionate owner and chef of the Soul Garden, Mia has revolutionized the culinary landscape by crafting a vegan soul food business. Beyond offering delectable and nourishing meals, the Soul Garden serves as a vibrant community platform advocating for improved health and wellness. Mia's commitment to elevating both her leadership skills and the well-being of her community exemplifies true dedication and ingenuity. Thanks for being here, Mia.
Really good. I wouldn't have said all that about myself. I would have said I nurse, I cook, I tell people what to do and they get it done. But I mean, that's not even, that would be a manager. When we were trying to figure out what I was going to talk about, I am the owner of Mia Multiplied Incorporated, which means I do a whole lot of stuff, and that covers everything. It is the home. That is where the Soul Garden is housed. That's probably the newest thing I do. We won't talk about the rest. But when I'm not working on my own business, I am a full-time nurse. I'm a nursing director in Salem right now. I was the director of nursing at Hillside Heights over in South Eugene for 2.5 years. When I walked in that building, that was my first director of nursing job. And on their clinical measures, which is saying what is going on in the clinical setting, are you taking care of the patients well? They were a 2-star when I walked in the building. 2.5 later, when I walked out, they were a 5-star in clinical measures. I did not do that. And people are like, you did a great job. When I left 3 days before our final survey for that year came back. And when the surveyors came in, my phone is ringing off the hook. I'm no longer the director of nursing, and they're just going crazy. They had this great, we finished the survey great. And I told them all, so they stopped calling me, that you guys did the work. I didn't do it. And they couldn't see that. What I did when I walked in there, I did not know how to manage people. I manage children. You tell kids what to do, they do it. But I don't think she would say that I do that. Everybody, you do what you do. And then I decided what I did was, if my team didn't do it, I did it. The work was gonna get done regardless. If my team didn't wanna work because we were short 2 nurses, I worked my full day shift. I went into the night shift. I got more clothes in my office. When I was done with the night shift, I slept in my office for an hour. I changed into my work, this stuff, and I went back to managing. And in about 1 month, the management team under me started picking up those extra shifts. I didn't have to ask them. They started doing it. I sat back and watched. So then we would do different things. And I would lead out. You can manage, managers start here, and the team is behind them, and they're cracking the whip. It's like ox. The manager, he's in there, and he's just telling the oxen where to go. Leaders stand in the front, and they pull the hardest. You've got to pull the hardest, because if you're in charge, if it doesn't mean anything to you, it's not going to mean anything to your team. It's just not. So I stood in the front. Got so good to the point where I just got to sit down. They just pulled it on their own without me. We got it. But how I got to that place was looking at each and every individual, and I switched them between management positions back on the floor. They didn't know what they were doing. And even my boss at the time, the director, he was like, Mia, what are you doing? I said, just, you take care of your people, I'll take care of my people. Then I ended up taking care of his people too. But I watched him, and I audit every charting note, and it gets real tedious. I was doing it last night. Seeing how people chart, who charts really well, seeing who's paying attention, seeing who's not paying attention, who's really good with their wounds. And then the person that was really good with their wounds after 4 months of me watching all this became the wound nurse and excelled in the job. The people who were good at documentation became the resident care managers because they excelled in their job. The people who were in there for the patients 24/7, kids at home working 14 and 15 hours, didn't care. She became a care manager too. She shouldn't have, they didn't want her to be because she was an LPN and they wanted only RNs. I'm like, but your RNs can't touch my LPN. She became a manager and then became the top care manager over even the RNs. And I just kept shifting people. If somebody didn't work that hard, put them on the night shift. You put them where there's not a lot of work. You don't set up anybody to fail. If you can't handle the day, shift pace, then I'll put you on the night shift. And then I'll show up. Just to see, and I did numerous times. I walked in, jacket. I've actually had people stop me at the door if I didn't have my jacket. Who are you? And I said, does it matter? And the poor guy said, well, CNA, I can't let you in. I said, well, why not? Well, it's the middle of the night and we're closed and you can't come in. I said, thank you. Then I pulled my badge out and put it on, thank you for doing your job correctly. And he was shaking. What are you shaking for? I just told you, thank you for doing your job correctly. He became a lead CNA. You watch people, you move them. To this day, my daughter will tell you, I say, I will never hire an employee for any of my businesses. I will never have an employee. Don't want one. I want to find people who know how to do what I need because I can't do it all. I used to think I did. My daughters are very good at telling me that I don't. I don't take good pictures of my food. She lets me know. I don't market well. The other young man lets me know that as well. I don't handle all my business for getting paperwork done well either. And I was like, you guys got to contact them. I don't do that. I cook and I talk. That's what I do. I cook and I talk. And what you do when you do that, when I start bringing in people to work more for me, I'm going to set them up with their LLC. I'm going to get them started. You'll be a contractor for me. You will never be my employee because I don't want you to see yourself like that. You don't work for you. Don't work for me. If you have something you can offer that helps me in my business and you want to work with me, great, work with me. But don't work for me, work for you. And when you embolden people with that thought, you will get more out of them than it's amazing. I got to go back to my daughter sometimes when I finally stood back. I'm really funny about my food. I work real hard with that food. And when she'll come in and say something, I'm just like, okay. And when she took over the food truck, because I had to go back to work, and I'm trying to tell her what to do, and something in me said, step back. She runs that food truck better than me first time out. She's got it. And then I had to learn, and I'm still learning to stand back, because sometimes I try to jump in with my podcasts that are getting ready to go out. I want this, this, and this, and this. She said, no. Doesn't sound right like that. I said, well, you're taking away my natural flow of talking if you're taking out all my ums and ahs. And she said, don't nobody want to hear that. And so I stopped fighting. I said, what did I hire her for? What did I hire her business for? I hired her business to put my podcasts out there and manage them. I do not let her edit my books, I'll tell you that, because I just can't let go of that one yet. Well, she attempts to edit them. She did edit well, you didn't do too bad with it, but boy, it's painful. It's painful sometimes to let go of your baby. So say you have a business. You got this business you want to start. And you got in your mind, I'm going to hire these people and I'm going to tell them what to do and they're going to do what I want them to do. And yeah, you might be okay. You might make some money. How about you find some people who do things that you don't know how to do? Even if you think you know how to do it, I know nothing about money. I'm not a money person. She is. Money's not my thing. You just let me cook and write. And it's hard to give that up, but if you do it, if you find people, hire them in to work with you, find what they do well, and let them be leaders as well. Teach them to lead in the spot you're putting them in. Your business is going to explode. There's no way it can't. The Soul Garden came up. I woke up one morning with an idea for a cookbook, The Alternative Eatery. Literally popped in my mind. I'm writing down stuff. In 2 months later, the cookbook was made. 2 weeks after that, we did a Sunday supper, and we started having people in the community come out and taste the food because I really wanted the community to start eating more plants, I have a lot of stuff in here about plants. And I know you see me, I'm not a small woman. Ain't nothing small about me at all. I have no markers for heart disease, no markers for diabetes, no markers for nothing. I'm not vegan. I'm not vegetarian. I'm more vegetarian than anything. I eat meat from time to time, but I eat a whole lot more plants than a lot of people, and I always have. And that's the difference. So that's what I wanted for my people. That's how this all started. I'm getting phone calls from my marketer. Mia, we need to do another Sunday supper. Why? We need to put this book out. Why? And then something said, just do what he tells you. So I shut down. If he told me to be somewhere we were doing it, I did it. We need to do, and it's because of him, because of his expertise in marketing, that we went from Sunday suppers in the alternative eatery to the Soul Garden Vegan Soul Food with a truck 2 years later, which I'm now shutting down. I have my reasons, because like JR said, if something isn't working, you switch it. You just switch it up. We're going to be catering. We're going to be doing virtual home chef stuff. You shift, but you cannot have workers around you and be uberly successful. You got to have thinking individuals, and you got to groom them. I had one girl she's like, I can work in the truck from time to time. I was like, well, you need to get your LLC first. And she said, why? I think she said, thought I was going to say, you need to get your food handler's card first. And she's, I already have my food handler's card. I said, that's great. That's great. But I don't pay anybody under the table, and I don't want employees. Soul Garden has one employee, and that's me. That's it. But I have people that work with me. And you set them up for their own success so they can move forward in life. That's how you start to build the economy. You tell somebody that they're good at something and keep telling them that they're good at something. Hey, yeah, you might have slipped there, but look what you did here. They're going to grow and they're going to expand. And that community consciousness will expand, not just from you, but because you've expanded somebody else. I'm now a nursing director again after a 5-month hiatus. I thought I was retiring from nursing, didn't happen like that, at a center in Salem. And yes, I drive that hour and 15 minutes every single day, Monday through Friday, sometimes Saturday. Yesterday I was there for 12 hours. And I have this new group. And I forgot, it got so easy with my last nursing group that I forgot how much work it took to get them there. And I have a lot of people not doing their work and rolling their eyes, and I don't do well with the rolling of the eyes thing. I'm not that, and I told them in my interview, it's like, I'm gonna tell you who I am. If I'm in my office and I start cursing, that's my business. If that's gonna bother you, don't hire me, because that's who I am. And I'm huge on respect. If you disrespect me for no reason, I'm gonna struggle. And I have one employee, she's the direct manager right under me. And she is taking me to levels. I'm making phone calls talking about this girl gonna make me. I'm gonna go to jail in a minute. I'm gonna go to jail. Go to jail. And so the other day we were having a meeting and I was sitting next to her and trying not to kick her, because I'm in charge. I can't go kicking people at work. They frown upon it. And I had on a bracelet, and she's birth month, July. She's a Cancer like I am. And that bracelet was specifically made with stones that have energies to help you keep from killing people when you're at work if you're a Cancer. So and something in my brain said, because we've been at odds, and I'm like, literally, I'm gonna run her over with my car. I'm gonna do something. But she probably feels the same way about me. And she said, I don't know why you think you can tell me what to do. And I didn't say, well, you're an RN like I am. Why aren't you sitting in this job? Why they hire me? But I didn't say it. I went in my office and said it while I was drinking a rock star because I was having a moment. But something said, you're going about this all wrong. You know better than this. You're almost 56 years old. You've been doing this for a minute. I took the bracelet off during the meeting and I just started rubbing it in my hands. No, I'm a cool person from time to time. So I brought out my cool energy, my cool person energy. And after the meeting, we were all just standing in the hallway. I said, hey, here. And she says, oh, that's cute. I said, here. And she said, what is it? Well, I said, well, look at the stone. She saw the cancer embossed of it. And she's like, oh, that's cute. I said, here. She goes, you're giving me this? And she knows how she's been acting because you hear things. And ever since that day last week, it just stopped. Now it's like, can I help you with this? Sometimes it's like, no, y'all, I've seen your work. No, you can't help me with this shit. You're not there yet. I gotta get you there. But this girl, now for all that getting on my nerves, smart as a whip. This chick knows stuff. But she hasn't had anybody to lift her up in that. So she keeps taking on more. I found paperwork, orders missed, it's been sitting for 2 weeks. It was in her mailbox. I'm like, well, this is a problem. But what I noticed with her, if you watch people, you look at their strengths, but you look at their weaknesses too. She needs to feel that I have something to offer. So I'm gonna cater to that. And then I can circumvent and say, but hey, don't keep the orders in your desk no more, because now this patient hasn't had those meds for 2 weeks and I'm about to go get chewed out about this. But, and so that's how you build leaders. I've been through with the other leaders too. I've had one of my nursing directors, I tell him to do something and he walk out, didn't say anything. And everybody come back and he's just in there grumbling, throwing the papers you get. And then he made a fatal error that could have cost somebody their life, fatal error. And I fixed it. And I didn't call him, I didn't say anything. And he came into my office the next morning, should have done that checklist like you told me. I said, excuse me. He said, I should have done the checklist like you told me. I said, what checklist? And he goes, you're gonna make this hard on me. I said, no, I'm not. I said, I'm in this position for a reason. Let me teach you how to do your job better so you don't have that problem anymore. That's all I'm trying to do. I handpicked him to take my job when I left. They got 30 days notice and I told him they should put in the job. And his first day in the chair, I was still there. I moved to my conference table and he took my seat, which became his seat. And he saw the DNS checklist under a piece of plastic. And I saw him doing this. But I'm sitting at the table. I have my computer too. And I'm checking his work. Is it done? He's knocking on. So I see you looking at that checklist. Don't start with it. But I built a leader. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I know what I can and can't do. I'm learning. I get told a lot what I can't do as well. And I'm learning to take that. Because when somebody tells you, hey, you're not good at that, and you look at them like, well, this is my child. Why is she gonna tell me I'm not good at something? I started more businesses before she was, but she knows. Why would I squash her and tell her, you don't know what you're talking about because I'm your mama? No. If I do that, I slow her roll down and I slow my business down. Because these kids have done more for my business, there wouldn't be no business. I would just be working as a nurse until I retired and wondering how my retirement was going to help my lifestyle. Because of these people and standing back, and sometimes I was pacing in my room like with brandy in my hand. It's like, and 2 years of letting them be who they are, giving them the chance to grow, and I do this with my employees as well as my children, has turned into the Soul Garden vegan soul food. You guys ate that food because of the kids. I would cook all day, but you would have never got it if it hadn't been for the children being allowed to be leaders in their arenas. That's why we're sitting here right now. So I'm talking right now. My marketer, Traylon Day, got me over to the into the Illumination. I'm sorry.
Opening exhibit.
He was the one that was instrumental in getting me there, and we took some food. And had Mindy and not met me, I would not be standing here right now. This is what happens when you embrace and hold up, especially the youth in the community. I call them youth. These are grown people. They're youth to me. They're children until I drop. It's a child to me. And you do it with everybody around you that you see some worth in that wants to work with you. Lead. Don't ever crack the whip. Don't work. It works for a minute, but those ox get real mad real quick. And they'll take your whole business left. And you won't know what happened. You walk in the business one day and it's shut down. And you don't know why your business got shut down. Because you were managing people. And they got mad about it. You know what folks get? Let somebody get mad. If they feel like they're being stepped on, not heard. You can have 10 people walk out. Your business is in trouble. Your business is in trouble. If I have 10 nurses walk out, I got residents who don't have anybody to take care of them. And 40% of the medical staff professionals left with COVID. 40% in this country gone. And they haven't been replaced yet. I was getting ready to say something, it left me just at, mustn't have meant to say it. Anyway, that is pretty much the gist of what I'm trying to say. Best way to build your business to higher heights is to work with people who lead in their arenas. Let them help you. They know you're the boss. They know who's in charge at the end of the game, and you don't need to tell them. They know. And I will tell you, they're happy to do it. When you lift somebody up, I still get phone calls. I'm like, why y'all bother me? I've been gone for a minute now. It's almost been a year. Because they never forget that. They never forget that you saw me and you built me into a better version of who I was trying to become. You get people like that on your team behind you, there's no stopping you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mia. Okay, I think we have time for like one question. If someone's got a burning question for Mia or JR and want to pose it. Bonnie, I saw you taking notes.
Oh, I got all kinds of- I have a lot of observations, a lot of inspiration from this. I find the model, it's my interpretation of what you're talking about, but I think it's really important takeaway is no matter if we're a business owner or a team leader, nonprofit, for-profit, doesn't really matter, but the path to success, to real success, total success, your business, your organization, or your community is by bringing other people up, exactly what you were saying. I couldn't say it any better. So what I think is really interesting though about what you said in your model, that I don't know that I've heard that anybody say this before, but basically you're creating businesses.
Yeah.
Like you are, in many ways, it's mentoring. You're spinning off businesses
And it saves me workers' comp.
create. I totally get that, but that's so smart. But it's also good for the community and entrepreneurial, entire the mindset. Whether those businesses ultimately succeed, and then like sometimes the model of success I don't think is completely accurate. And Roger's here from Small Business Development Center, but the ultimate definition of success is how many employees you employ. That could be true, like how many jobs you're creating, but I don't know that we measure how many new businesses you're creating with new business ownership, which is a really interesting takeaway for me. I'm just gonna be thinking on that for a while. And I will never forget, and it's not because I'm a dog lover, but I totally now get exactly what I've always felt. Is that why you can't pull, you don't want to be pulling, you don't want the dog energy to be pulling you. That's not right, it doesn't feel right. You don't want to be dragging them. When you're running at the pace and they're running right with you, that is the sweet spot. So that's my takeaway from JR too, among all the really great strategies and just the side hustle, how important that is. Because I can, we have a kidpreneur, we call him, from Springfield High School, I think, Giovanni, who has been to a couple of these. And from Thurston High School. We gotta get you together with him. You would love this kid. Roger's met with him, Giovanni. So he is you when you were 14 or 15, is what I'm thinking. He's all about it. But I wanna thank JR, and it's just a great, comprehensive, collective, inspirational. Your stories are great, and I hope this isn't the last we get to connect with you, so this is just sort of a door open.
Yes.
That wasn't really a question, Paige, sorry.
I have one.
I gotta go home for the rest of the afternoon.
I have one question, and it's actually, Mary, what is your LLC that your mom helped you start?
It's called Darius MP. So I do a lot.
She's like her mother.
I do a lot. I help people like build up their podcasts. I make logos, I make flyers, websites. A lot of the flyers that I do right now are mainly just for comedy nights at Big City Gaming with Devin Jones. And yeah, I do a lot of logos, and I make stickers and shirts. My own design, I do my own art and I sell it. help my friends
No, you
find
are now,
resources
but-
for their art. I think that's, I think that's it. I help with this, but yeah, I think that's about it. I'm a really big helper, and I do art.
We have an incredible small business community here in the area, so, and this is a great platform for people to get all you guys together. So thank you for coming today, for spending your lunch hour with us. Emily?
I have one thing, I didn't know if JR and Mia had cards that they could just share.
Forgetting to bring mine.
So I don't know.
We are gonna send out their business contact information in a follow-up email with you all. The program today was recorded. We're gonna go ahead and get that posted on our digital small business solutions hub page. And we'll make sure you all get a copy of that and their contact information too. So a couple of programs coming up that I hope you can join us at. Next Tuesday at 4:00, we'll be back here in this room for a roundtable program where we're gonna be talking about the tourism economy with a presentation from Traveling County. And what I'm really excited about is we're gonna dive into some of the data collection that they've been doing, the geodata information for visitors to the area. So hopefully you can join us at that program. And then on April 4th, we're gonna be over at William Lane Park and Recreation District. They're co-hosting with Chambers Construction our business after hours. So we'll see you guys soon, I hope. And thanks again for spending your time with us this afternoon.